Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Xbox Casuals, the Xbox podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Corey Deerigan. Alongside me, as always, is the very sleepy, very sickly Josh Finney.
Yes. Hello.
Hi, Josh.
I'm very not here. I am fighting a massive migraine and literally woke up less than 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, that's fair. Besides being sick, Josh, how are you?
Besides being sick, I'm good. I am, man. It's been a busy couple of weeks, but in a good way. Lots going on. Both in gaming and out of it, I guess I should say. Finished Persona just to roll straight into Final Fantasy. So
Nice. I moved. So that's...
yeah, Corey had something meaningful happen in his life. I just went from one giant Japanese game to another.
That's fair. That's
Yeah.
big.
It's a very, very nice setup behind you.
Thanks. Josh, see what I have on display over here?
You see the Halo 3 Legendary Edition, which is like my white whale at this point.
Yeah.
Got the cave and buy
I
it.
had to put it on display. I also have my Sonic Mania collector's edition sitting on this side that you can't see.
No, we cannot see that. Maybe mercifully.
It's fun.
Sonic Mania.
It's chubby Sonic standing on a Genesis that's not real.
I like how wildly the quality swings between those two games too. Oh, here's Sonic Mania. Here's Halo 3.
Yeah, one of the most.
Here's
iconic...
the ending to one of the most beloved trilogies of all time.
Yeah, Sonic Mania.
God.
Oh man. It's been a fun week, Josh. Let me tell you, it's been a fun weekend.
It has been a fun weekend. You're not wrong about that. You moved. I spent a lot of time on a road trip with Cloud, Tifa, Aerith, and Barrett.
Let me tell you, Josh, I also began my journey with Cloud, Tifa, Aerith, and Barrett, but not the one that everybody else is playing.
Not part 2 of 3.
No, I'm playing the original Final Fantasy VII
for the first time, right?
Yeah, pretty much for the first time. I mean, I played I don't know. I here's the thing: the amount I've played, it wouldn't even be worth saying that I've played it.
Yeah.
So this is my first go around because Rebirth's hype got me, and the only console I had with me for about 2 weeks was my Switch and my Xbox Series S. So I was like, now's just as good a time as any to start this trip, this journey with these characters.
Man, just Remake and Rebirth are so masterful. I do appreciate it when you buy Rebirth, at least when you buy it digitally. I don't know if it's the same if you buy it physically. When you buy it digitally, you get Final Fantasy VII Remake with it.
Yeah, but you have to go into the store and actually search for the dual bundle.
It is. So when I went to when I purchased Rebirth, it was the default.
Oh, really?
Yep. It was the default on there. Because I actually was convinced that it was going to throw another charge at me, and I've already played Remake and beaten it, so I actually went out of my way to choose the non-bundled version. But yeah, no, they want to give you that with Integrate for free with it. I saw people complaining about this because there's a story so far catch-up mechanic in the main menu, and I thought that was a really weird complaint to have. Like, okay, so you're going to be upset that people don't have to go play like a 60-hour RPG to know what's happening here. Right. That is 20% of the original game's story.
Oh no, I played this game 3-4 years ago. I kind of forget
right.
tiny things that happen.
They're like, well, because Square has been running around apparently saying like you don't have to have played Remake to enjoy this, and I will say I don't think you need to play Remake to play Rebirth if you watch the catch up story. That being said, Rebirth is made that much more special if you played a remake and remember a lot of the side characters and a lot of like the minor characters. That is going to enhance overall what you think of this game,
Hmm.
and that's cool. I think that's a nice addition. There are changes that have been made to this game that are I just like I can't believe that this game looks like this now, like 25 years after the original came out.
Yeah.
um there are things one of my favorite comparison screenshots is when you first step into the grasslands, when you leave Calm at the beginning of Rebirth, and you get a chocobo out there. That's the first quest it does, is go get a chocobo. You get a
Is it the fat
chocobo.
one?
It's a yellow chocobo.
Oh,
And you get on the chocobo and you're looking out at this super detailed world. And then and then I saw a side by side comparison of that with how it looked in 97. And it is Cloud on a yellow chocobo, and it's just a green polygonal cube that he is standing on, essentially. And it's like, yep, this was considered top of the line. You've never seen anything like this. And I'm like, damn, I would just be disappointed if I saw that in my overworld compared to like a year later, you're getting Ocarina of Time, for example.
hmm,
And that's on the technologically inferior Nintendo 64 on a cartridge. It's just
yeah,
it's very funny. Like I understand and I appreciate that. Like, oh, when you're in the towns and like the combat system and especially the storytelling, Cloud's one of the very first unreliable narrators in video games, right? And it's so cool to see the changes between the two. Like I got the Costa del Sol, and it's like, oh my god, this is so like the Costa del Sol date is so different this time around. It's so weird, but again, like I think that if you really enjoy this is a game that like yeah, they made it to where you don't have to play the previous one, which is really nice because it kind of follows along like how the Uncharted games have worked and how like Sony's kind of like perfected this in a way. Like you don't have to have played the God of War reboot, but Ragnarok's going to be made way better if you played the reboot. You didn't
yeah.
have to play the original God of War trilogy to play the reboot, but there's going to be like hints and nods, and like you'll understand Kratos better as a character. You'll understand like Cloud, Tifa, and Aerith's relationships especially better if you played a remake.
Hmm.
But I would say as long as you have like a basic understanding of just like the story events, like somebody could do like a here's remake in 5 minutes, which is basically what the story so far is. Great. If you, I would encourage folks to still play it. You don't have to play it before Rebirth, but I do think it's more, especially like the content that I've seen thus far. Remake focuses a lot more because it's the early hours. Final Fantasy 7 focuses way more on the relationship between Cloud and Aerith than Rebirth does. Rebirth is all about like him and Tifa like reconnecting after having been apart since they were kids and really like kind of coming to terms with who they are as characters. And I think Rebirth really fleshes that out in a way that I don't think the original game struggled with, but like fleshes it in a very modern way, fleshes it out.
Hmm.
Um, and I think all the characters get those moments. Like there's powerful character moments that are just they were already good in 7, but they're perfect here.
Hmm.
So the order of things is a little different. I enjoy how some things are out of order, and they one of the most notable things is in the second act. In the second act of the original game, you go to a certain location. The visit to said location has now been bumped from it would have occurred organically in Rebirth. They've now moved that to whatever the third game will be called
Hmm.
because it makes more sense as a story structure.
Yeah.
Um, so it's cool. I'm excited. I am. from folks I've talked to, I'm close to about halfway through the main storyline. But I mean, I am stopping to do absolutely everything along the way. I am engaging in I fucking hate mini games, and I'm engaging with every single one that I find. Um, I'm on the peak of hitting the gold saucer, which I'm really excited for.
Hmm.
Because I really want to see how that's changed from original 7. But yeah, there's God, man, it's so fucking good. It's so good. I don't know if it'll be my game of the year because there's a lot of year left to go, but this is clearly setting a really high mark for the rest of the year in a way that I don't think we had a game that did this last year, in my opinion. Until like Tears of the Kingdom was the first one.
Mhm.
It was like, oh, and then we got hit with like 4 games instantly in like a 3 week span between. I would say like Jedi Survivor may have even kicked it off. Like, yeah, Jedi Survivor, Tears of the Kingdom. Uh, you had Diablo, you had Final Fantasy 16. You had all these games come out real fast that all got like really good reviews or really loved, and it just kind of didn't stop after that.
Yeah.
It feels like this opening part of the year is like really RPG heavy.
Mhm.
Like, you look already at like you could already make like a must play list of early this year, and at least 3 of those spots are JRPGs
Yeah.
with Rebirth, Reload, and Infinite Wealth. And you could probably throw Helldivers in there. You can throw Prince of Persia in there. Um, yeah, man,
But Josh, single player games are dead.
I cannot get over that. We're gonna have more to say on that later today, in regards to single players. But yeah, I think there's a difference between like single player games are dead and single player games are not profitable enough for us to care about. I think that's like the more like because gamers clearly want the single player games.
Yeah.
They just want them to be quality single player games. Like you can't have a year where Baldur's Gate 3, Alan Wake 2, Tears of the Kingdom, Final Fantasy 16, Spider-Man 2, Jedi Survivor, like all these great single player games all come out and then be like and then deduce nobody wants single player games. Like no, we want them. We just want you to we want you to try. But,
Right.
you know, you know,
Right.
like even something like Persona 3 Reload sold 1 million copies in its first week. No Atlas game has ever done that in the West, and that was with the game being available on PC and Xbox Game Pass day one.
Yep.
So, like Infinite Wealth has already hit that also, which no Yakuza game's ever done that quickly.
Right.
I stoked to see what the announcement from Square is later this week about how fast Rebirth is sold because you know they're going to strut those numbers. Hey guys, forget that we released Foam Stars 3.5 weeks ago. Here's the numbers for Final Fantasy Rebirth.
But Foam Stars is the game as a service everybody's been waiting for.
I can't stand you. I can't stand you. We have a lot of news, Corey.
I know we got a lot of stuff
Let's
to.
uh let's start blowing through some of this. I unless you've got other things you've been playing though, right?
Yeah, but I mean it's nothing that I haven't talked about before. I started playing Hellblade again
I need
on
to
the Switch.
finish it. I've never finished it.
The thing is I've been playing it on the Switch actually.
Interesting.
Um
Okay.
um so full disclosure, Ninja Theory, before they were purchased by Microsoft, gave me this code to review the Switch version, and I never, I never reviewed it. So whoops.
Oof.
Um, I talked about it on a podcast though, so I guess that kind of counts. And I sent them the clip, and then nothing. So yeah, it's really interesting on the Switch specifically. Uh, I did 1K this on Xbox, which is why I'm playing it on a different console. Um, to get ready for Hellblade 2. And it's weird because it does the thing that Wolfenstein 2 did on Switch, which is all of the cutscenes are video, like video files of other versions of the game. and then when it transitions into gameplay, it like does this weird like cross fade thing into the gameplay graphics, and it's like very noticeably not as pretty as the cutscenes. And
Interesting.
it's definitely it's an experience on the Switch. Handheld mode though, like if you are in a dark room and you have headphones on and you're playing it in handheld mode and you like are just kind of sucked into the story, it's kind of it's kind of scarier that way in a lot of ways. So maybe the Switch version isn't the best way to play it, but I mean, like if you have it on Steam and you want to play it on Steam Deck or like a ROG Ally or something, like I think it might be a more interesting experience in handheld mode. So try it out, I guess.
It's one of those that I really, really enjoyed when I was starting to try and play it. I didn't like playing it on like with my surrounds, or not surround sound, but I didn't like playing it through just my TV sound. When I put on my noise canceling headphones is when I found that my experience like just skyrocketed with the game.
Yeah. Well, they when the last time they updated it, which I don't really remember when that was, they put a thing at the beginning that says this game is more what they say. Basically they said play it with headphones because the
Yeah,
experience is better. So,
that sounds right.
yeah. So, I mean, if you're playing on PlayStation and you have those like 3D headphones, I would wear those. If you have some sort of 5.1 surround headphones, try those. So, but that's it. I mean, I've been playing Final Fantasy VII, the OG experience, and it is I'm having a good time. I do want to say one thing, Josh, and
What's
maybe
your one thing, Corey?
10 or 15 years ago, maybe I wouldn't have noticed or it wouldn't have been a big deal or whatever. But man, so obviously, PlayStation 1 game, no voice acting, right?
Right.
You got to read all the dialogue. Let me tell you about Barrett's dialogue, Josh. From 1997, a room of, 40-year-old white dudes translating Japanese, trying to write for a, a big black dude, okay? It definitely I don't know if it aged well. We'll say that. That's my one thing, Josh. Uh
It's it's very interesting. I don't remember enough about the original to be able to compare it to the dialogue now, but the dialogue now is fantastic.
yeah, but also like I'm
It's
sure the
voice
team
acted.
translating is, obviously
Oh,
probably has more than
significantly better. Yeah.
yeah. And yeah, voice acted, like voice acting makes a big difference, and I'm sure like the voice actor for Barrett probably had some input on how he wanted to take the direction of the character, right? Like it's a way different world in terms of video game production, right? But man,
Right.
reading the dialogue from 1997. Oh boy. Uh so that's my one thing, Josh. But we have more than one thing to get through in terms of news. But the
Hit me with
first
that
news
first
story,
one.
Josh, a little bit surprising, in sort of a good way, probably to an extent. Um, Microsoft is losing a studio because they are going indie. Toys for Bob wrote on their blog that they are going independent.
Hmm.
They feel it is the best. I'm not going to read the whole blog post. You guys can go read it if you want. But basically, um, they want to go out and make their own games. They might work with Microsoft in the future in a possible partnership. Uh, and yeah, they feel like they can be more agile and a better studio, not under the crushing pressure of Activision putting out Call of Duty games every year and Microsoft. So congratulations to them. How do you feel about this?
Um, man, I gotta admit, the when I first saw the news, my heart kind of sank a little.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
that's be like, and I want to say this really clearly, like as an Xbox super fan, my
Hmm.
heart sank a little because it was like, God damn it! I think we all thought that was like the hidden jewel here. That was
Hmm.
like That was
Yep.
like, okay, we're going through all this bullshit, but you're getting something that Phil has clearly wanted for a long time. They've expressed the need for. If you want to keep growing Game Pass and grow your ecosystem, you got to have that family friendly studio. Toys for Bob is pretty damn good at that since the Skylanders days. And then this happens.
Yep.
This was in the works for a little while. Imran Khan was tweeting about this the other night. He said that, back when we heard the rumors that they were closing down a few weeks ago, like people jumped to conclusions, and he was like, "No, I need y'all to y'all need to take a deep breath. That's not what's happening here. Like, I can't talk about it, but that's not what's happening here." Um, I this is good news. I
Hmm.
think this is really good news. This is a studio that clearly did not want to go down that path. They've seen what happens in a corporate environment now, like being forced into working on Call of Duty. The founders left even a
Yep.
couple of years ago over this, and they clearly negotiated it with Microsoft who let them go. And to their credit, they immediately say in their statement that they are already discussing with Microsoft about Microsoft publishing their first game.
Hmm.
This is the kind of partnerships, you and I talked about this before. We've talked about this for a couple of years. These are the kind of partnerships we wanted to see,
Hmm.
them publishing games rather than outright buying the studios, because this reminds me of how they published a couple of games from Remedy. They published stuff from Moon Studios in the past. They published Moon's first two games with Ori. Obviously, Toys for Bob, not as toxic of an environment as Moon ended up being. um,
Yeah.
there are some questions there, but I think there's a lot of fun to be had here also. Um, because now they can do whatever they want. They can do a truly original IP. I didn't see any clarification, but one has to assume that the IP rights for Crash and Spyro stay with Microsoft.
Yeah. I mean,
I
that's
cannot fathom that they gave those up.
no, but they did say, keep your horns on in their outro paragraph here. So a
Yeah,
lot
it
of
makes me
people are,
wonder if maybe they had something already in the works and that they'll
mhm,
still have that come out.
yeah,
It wouldn't be
like
the first time.
A
Yeah.
Spyro 4, especially because like in the Crash art book that kind of came out, there was a tease for Spyro 4 or at least some sort of Crash crossover at some point. Um,
Hmm.
and that was something that they were toying around with, and they did a great job with the Spyro Reignited trilogy. I think that is like a really top tier kind of remake. So um, I wish Toys for Bob the best of luck, and I'm excited to see what kind of IP they are working on.
Oh yeah, I'm stoked. I want to be super clear. I am
Hmm.
very excited for this. I think this is awesome. Um, it truly could not be happening to a better team, in my opinion. But I am interested to see where they go from here and what they come up with next. I like the idea of a studio being able to do this. I mean, like, clearly they're going to need a publisher, because I've seen so many people be like, "Oh, I wish more studios would do this." And I don't know if y'all understand. Like, most indie studios that start up never release a game,
Hmm.
or they release a game and it's just not profitable and they have to close down. I had read something like 85 to 90% of studios are like that. And like, no, we don't need more of that. We need more financial backing from the billion-dollar entities here. We need folks like Microsoft and Nintendo and Sony to invest in these smaller studios. And I like what Microsoft is doing. Already talking, them and Toys for Bob are already talking. They took the new team from the former Volition developers and gave them work working on Clockwork Revolution. They've partnered with Eidos and Crystal Dynamics to work on Fable and Perfect Dark, respectfully. Like,
Hmm.
they are seeking these outside studios and they're throwing work their way, and I think that is a much healthier and organic way to grow your business than just run out and buy a publisher.
Yeah,
So, also, congratulations, Toy for Bob, on escaping the Call of Duty mine.
yeah, that's the big thing, right? I mean,
That's Yeah.
I
No
kind
more
of,
Wumpa League either.
yeah, I kind of like
God.
really. thought maybe if they stayed with Microsoft, they would get out of that anyway. But now they're like never going back, and it's kind of exciting.
I think that was kind of the decide. I feel like that was the deciding thing when, like a month or two ago, we kind of heard that like Microsoft wasn't looking to like change up how things were going over there just yet. I think
Hmm.
that combined with oh, Bobby is finally gone. I can only imagine that once Bobby was officially out of the building, the heads of Toys for Bob were like, "Yo, Phil, can we talk?"
Yeah.
Like that is a studio that I feel was like really mistreated, and I mean you could say that for almost every studio at Activision, if not every studio.
Hmm.
But Toys for Bob especially, like taking a team that makes platformers and toys to life and telling them no, you're going to work on Call of Duty, like what the fuck.
Right.
And then you're going to drive the creators of the studio out, by the way. So I'm happy that they already have plans for their next game, that they're already working on it, and that they're talking to publishers. I mean, and I feel like, partnering with any of the big three would be a great move, but it does make sense. Like, hey, you did us a solid, we're going to do you a solid. Like, if you give us the funding, we'll basically act as a second party studio to you. Kind of reminds me of like the partnership that Nintendo had with Rare in the Super Nintendo and 64 era. Like that's like what this partnership could end up being eventually,
Hmm.
because so few studios do what Toys for Bob does.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
good for you guys. There's
Yeah.
another studio we have to celebrate too.
Yeah. So everybody knows we like to talk about Embracer Group here. We love the Embracer Group here. We love them. Love talking about them. Saber Interactive have purchased themselves back from Embracer Group, as well as keeping the rights to the Knights of the Old Republic remake for $500 million. Josh.
I don't know how this is gonna go. Saber, if you guys don't remember, Saber basically has never made an original game. Um, Good luck, I guess. They're retaining 3,500 employees, which seems incredibly unsustainable. But I'd rather this than Embracer go and gut the studio. So we'll see. Jason Schreier said last week, he was like, yeah, Knights of the Republic isn't dead, but I have no idea if that thing's ever coming out, essentially. Like, nobody seems to know. And, like, this is the latest thing that throw. This actually may save it a little bit more, frankly,
Hmm.
but I don't think anybody should expect this thing to be good if
I
it
would
ever does
expect
come
it to
out.
be a solid seven.
That would be higher than I expect it to be right now, frankly. Um, I just cool. I'll always be happy for studios getting away from Embracer rather than getting shut down. I hope to God Crystal Dynamics is next.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Crystal and Eidos just get away and make it Crystal Austin and Crystal Montreal or something. I don't know.
Yeah. And don't sell them to Amazon.
God, don't sell them to Amazon. I am curious. I know this is our next story, but I want to weave this into it.
Yeah.
Gearbox is apparently set to be sold, and we should be finding out within like the next week or two. By the time we do this next step, do the next episode, we should know who they're being sold to.
Yeah.
Uh, Randy Pitchford apparently told staff in an all hands that
Hmm.
this is happening.
Yeah. I would, judging by the IP they make and their IP that's
It's
popular, I'm going to
it's
say
got to be
2K.
2K.
Yeah. I'm going to say 2K is the buyer.
I
And,
would have said if they hadn't already gutted all their like live service plans, I would have said Sony is a dark horse to run in here, especially if they hadn't bought Bungie.
yeah.
There was a time back before Embracer bought Gearbox that a lot of folks thought Microsoft was going to step in and buy them. And
Yeah.
can I just say, like, it's kind of like a dodged bullet. I think.
Yeah.
I think they would. I think they would have paid Randy to fuck off forever.
Yeah.
Go
Well,
go practice your card tricks. There are very few people in this industry that I've met who are fucking weirder than Randy Pitchford. That is a like ignoring all the allegations that like his former lawyer made against him and his business partners did, which is really gross. You can go read about that on your own dime. uh he is a really weird guy. I met him at the very first PAX South, and during a Gearbox panel that they were doing there, and it was
was that the one that they messed up the reveal of Borderlands 3 or whatever? or like they were
Uh,
like going to talk about something and like they like messed it up or whatever, so he ended up doing magic tricks.
no, but he did do a lot of magic tricks. They did something. It was something else. That was when Tales from the Borderlands was actually announced.
Mm,
Tales from
okay.
the Borderlands was shown off there. I don't remember if it was announced or if they were just showing off new episodes for it. Homeworld 2 was their big announcement, I seem to remember.
Oh, well,
But this was so long ago. Andrew Goldfarb was their community manager. Um, Mikey Newman was still writing for him. This was a very long time ago. They were very proud that that Borderlands 2 had come to the PSP and were seemingly unaware that that was just such a horrible port. Truly one of the worst ports I've ever played in my entire life.
but it ran.
Um, it
It
I
functioned.
don't I don't think that that is a generous. I think that's a very generous word here. Um, it looked like clip art moving across my screen in a slideshow.
I mean, that's fair, but it turned on and you could shoot a gun
It
sometimes.
somehow Sony allowed this to be released. I'll just put it that way. Somehow they allowed this to be released because they technically were the publisher for it
Yeah.
on the Vita.
Well, they I think this was like the
And
last kind of big move for them to try to get Vita into people's hands, and people just weren't having it because it
it
was
was,
a
but yeah, it was bundled when I bought my Vita. It was bundled with it, and I was like, wow,
yep.
this is all. That was my first experience with Borderlands. By the way, it was truly awful. They announced that, and I believe they announced Borderlands 1 and 2 were coming to Xbox One and PS4 at the time. That's when they
Yeah.
announced the Handsome Collection. But all that aside, Randy Pitchford, really weird fucking guy. If like 15 outlets hadn't reported on this, I don't know if I would have believed it. But like everybody was, before it came out that Randy had an all hands, they're like, yeah, no, what's happening. So they are being sold though. They're not being allowed to go independent. So to me, that screams it has to be 2K.
Yeah.
Um, Best case scenario, it's 2K. Worst case scenario, it's Tencent.
God. No, it's got to be 2K because
I
because
mean, just
2K owns Borderlands.
what? Yeah, I mean that was what puzzled all of us when Embracer bought them. Was Embracer was like, oh yeah, we're gonna let them work on original IP and still be a publisher and this and that, but we don't have the rights to Borderlands. That's the thing because obviously 2K was not giving up those rights.
Yeah, I wonder if Embracer just didn't know that when they bought them.
So I don't think Embracer looked into it, but I think Embracer still had calls over what they could develop. I think Embracer wanted them to like be basically be like a one for you, one for us
Hmm.
type thing. And Tiny Tina's was more successful than anybody thought it was going to be. So Gearbox was like, "Well, we're going to make a sequel to Tiny Tina's," and Embracer stepped it. We heard Embracer stepped in like last year and said,
Hmm.
cancel that," because apparently they were doing that and Borderlands 4 at the same time.
Hmm.
Embracer's like, we need to make money, guys. We're not making any money off y'all. You are making money for 2K constantly.
Well, look, that's Embracer, man. What a joke. They're THQ all over again. That's the worst though. At this point, good for everybody though. Getting out of the Embracer wagon. Uh, let's see. Now, like you said, we need Crystal Dynamics, IDOS Montreal. We also need to get Gunfire Games out of there, which is the Remnant developer. We need to get Airship Syndicate out of there, which is the Darksiders developer. Those were like the four major ones left, I would say, quote unquote major. So
Yeah, just God, there's a hand. It's funny because like half the studios that we would want to save have already closed,
yeah,
and I saw people like begging Microsoft or like Sony to step in, and it's like it's not that simple.
yeah,
Um, And I mean, listen, if Microsoft hadn't bought Activision, and I do wonder if there's like some buyer's remorse there, if they hadn't stepped in and bought Activision Blizzard King, they probably could have. I mean, 100% we believe they would have gone after Crystal Dynamics.
hmm,
But I feel like they could have stepped in and saved Free Radical before they closed, and probably Volition.
hmm,
And you would have gotten the IP rights to Saints Row and Time Splitters at that point.
hmm.
Um, So I don't know. Like I will always wonder if history could have been a little bit different. Like, but Embracer has effectively wiped out and I don't think gamers really understand like the damage that Embracer is doing to the industry
Hmm.
right now. Not just are they wiping out entire AA development teams off the face of the earth, they are with all these rounds of layoffs, them and others who are doing the mass layoffs, which is like basically the whole second half of our show tonight. Um, Tons and tons and tons of knowledge is being lost too. You're losing the generation that was going to train the next generation. You're losing knowledge of systems, of engines, of specific play styles. Like people talk about how like, oh, Halo Infinite doesn't feel like Halo anymore and this and that. Well, yeah, it was made by basically a ton of contractors.
Hmm.
Like, I mean, it's still a great Halo game in my opinion, but yeah, it doesn't have that like Bungie Halo feel anymore. Like
Yeah.
that's why, and like that was 4 years ago. So good luck explaining that down the line. You know, with
Right.
how some of these games are going to keep feeling more and more different. So
Right. Oh man. Well, Josh, should we get into
well, let's
the
get into the depressing part of the show.
yeah. So I heard you scream from like 1,000 miles away, Josh. When I heard this news, EA seemingly cancels first person Mandalorian game. Um, they're
God
also
fucking damn it!
they're also laying off around 670 people, which is about 6% of their workforce.
Yeah,
Uh,
notice every one of these companies is laying off between 6 to 8%. By the way, and that's not a
yeah,
coincidence.
no, that's we need to cut this to make our fiscal year look better.
Yes.
Um, but they also EA says that their strategy is changing to focus on in-house IP and away from licensed IP. But then they came
So
out and said that they are continuing work on a third Jedi game, the Iron Man VR and Black Panther games, which tells me that those games are too far along to cancel.
So not only that, but then today they confirmed that the Star Wars RTS game that was in development at Respawn is still in development. So I
Yeah,
want to know, out of all of these projects, how a first person shooter made by the best first person shooter studio on the planet, by the way,
yeah,
is suddenly canceled. Because I'm sorry, you've seen how well the Jedi games sell. You're going to tell me that a game set where you play as a Mandalorian, now not the Mandalorian, but you play as a Mandalorian bounty hunter during the time around Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, blah blah blah. Which, like, by the way, that kind of like screams, "We made a Boba Fett game."
yeah.
Um, you're gonna tell me that you didn't think that that was going to be profitable for you? That's on you. That's on fucking EA at that point if they didn't think that was going to be profitable.
Right.
Also, I don't think I've ever seen so much outcry and just like outright depression over an unannounced game getting canceled.
Yeah,
We had heard rumors about this game like forever. We knew that Respawn was working on another game, and then 2 weeks ago, Tom Henderson from Inside Gaming announces it. Basically says, "Here's the details on it," and then 2 weeks later, it gets canceled.
hmm
I do not believe that you saw the reaction online to that and said, this won't make us any money. Let's keep making the RTS though.
yeah. Let's make that. Let's make
I
the RTS.
just I can't believe this. Like, listen, I understand a third Jedi game, it's gonna sell 10 million copies without blinking.
Can't wait for
Okay.
that.
I can't wait for it. That is probably beginning of next generation at this point when that comes out.
Yeah.
Uh Black Panther game, that's going to be dope. Iron Man is coming from Motive, and let me tell you something. Motive made Star Wars Squadrons. They know how to make a game where you fly around and shoot shit.
Which Star Wars Squadrons is $5.99 on Xbox right now.
It's $199.
Okay, and it's gotten cheaper than since I saw it
You
like a
can get
week
it for
ago.
what? I don't know if it's $199 on Xbox. On PS Plus right now, at the very least, you can buy it for $199. I think $5.99 is the version that comes with all the DLC and stuff.
Okay, yeah,
But you can buy that game for $199, and it's also on hashtag Xbox Game Pass with EA Play. And let me tell
yep.
you, Star Wars Squadrons was way more fun than it had any right to be. It was a $40 title, and I loved every goddamn second of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you're
It's
going to tell me you don't think that I want to know, I want to know if it was EA who had to pull the plug on that game, or if maybe Lucasfilm and Disney stepped in and said, we don't really want you to do this kind of game without it being focused on a specific established character already.
Hmm.
I.e., it needs to be about Boba, Django, or Mando.
Hmm.
I feel like that is the easiest layup in the world. I did see some feedback being like, do we really need another Mandalorian being a bounty hunter in the same time period? And I agree, like that armor is not to signify that you're a bounty hunter. I totally get that stance of it.
Hmm.
And I don't think that like if you had made like a Bo-Katan game, anybody would have given two shits about playing as Bo-Katan, frankly. But I can't believe that you would sit there and be like, "No, I'm good. I'm good." Like of
Right.
all the projects you could cancel, that's the one you chose. Like I'm going to
Right.
be honest, like I want a new Star Wars RTS as much as anyone. I really liked Empire at War. I liked Galactic Civilizations or whatever it was way back in the day. I like both of those. I cannot believe that's the one that survives and this did not.
Yeah. Uh, just to update you, Josh,
Oh Christ.
Star Wars Squadrons is $5.99,
It
but
is 5.99. Got it.
if you have Xbox Game Pass, it is $1.99.
That's what I was thinking of then.
But also, it's already on Game Pass, so
It is already on Game Pass. It's such a good game though. We have to remember that like the Game Pass discount does apply to core members now too. So
yeah, yeah.
just man, what a I don't understand.
So I have a question for you, Josh, and I don't mean for this to take over the conversation, but like, what are some quote unquote internal IP that people care about from EA that people care about that have good entries recently that aren't licensed games? Dead Space, like,
So that was what I was trying to get at because they specifically said it also in regards to Respawn, and it's like the only internal IPs they have are Titanfall slash Apex, and y'all seem to be completely averse to doing anything with Titanfall that's not Apex. By the way, keep in mind Titanfall 2, one of the best first-person shooter stories of all time,
mhm.
and got absolutely sent out to die alongside Battlefield 1
And Call of Duty. It
and
was
Call of
like the
Duty.
week between those two.
Yeah, it was the week between those two. Also, Battlefield 1 sold like 20 million copies, and that Call of Duty also sold really, really well. So, like, I get it. People are going to they have a limited amount of money to spend. Why buy three multiplayer first person shooters all in a row?
Mhm.
And guys, I hate to break it to you, you're never getting Titanfall 3, first of all. But I found it very funny that then they come out and say, oh, yeah, we have a game from the director of Titanfall 2 in the works at Respawn. It's in the early stages, it's in the prototyping phase. So why even talk about it, first off? I think it was Jeff Grubb who was talking about it today, and he was like, "Yeah, it's in the early stages. It's still in the prototype phase. Like they're still figuring things out. So basically, it's in incubation." But he like stressed that this is not Titanfall 3. It's just another game set in that universe. And I'm like, okay, this is just getting offensive at this point. Like, I don't care if it's Titanfall 3. I just don't care about that universe anymore. And I know that I'm
It's
not alone in that either. But the reality is like people will be like, "Oh, Titanfall 3 would sell so good," and like, I actually don't think it would. I'm going to be honest with you.
I feel like by the time it came out, people wouldn't care, right? Because it's been so long since Titanfall 2 plus
it would be a minimum of 10 years between Titanfall 2 and 3.
yeah, plus Apex has kind of taken over that universe,
Oh
and
yeah,
Apex is definitely the better known aspect of that universe now, right? So,
it annoys me because like Titanfall 1 didn't sell great because EA decided to strike a deal with Microsoft and make it an Xbox exclusive, which by the way, fucking killed it on arrival. Okay, like that game should have come out like a year later, frankly. They should have just delayed it. It launched with not enough content, basically all
uh,
the hallmarks of last generation.
plus like the
Titanfall 2,
Xbox was also not in a great spot either at that
well,
point.
it came out like 3 or 4 months in, and like I think it would have been much bigger if it had actually been a launch title. It may have actually saved the launch at that point.
Yeah.
But Xbox had a whole lot of bad publicity at that time, but it didn't take off on PC either, is the thing. It didn't take off on PC. Titanfall 2 did not sell well. Like those who played it were like, yeah, it was really good, but Man, I'll tell you, I bought that game day one. I was in those online lobbies. There was nobody playing that game.
Mhm.
There's nobody playing it. There's been a very small, dedicated group of people who keep playing it on Steam and things like that. Kudos to you guys who have been playing it for like 8 years now, but it's time to let it go.
Yeah.
Um, these games, neither one of them sold well. And I
Mhm.
can I can understand the first one, you being like, well, that was only on Xbox, this and that. And then you realize it was also on PC, and like people weren't like gaming as heavily on PC, but they weren't in 2017 either. I do think if you released it now, maybe like best case scenario, you get a Helldivers scenario where like it just becomes like the meta game for like a month or two. But I don't think EA is smart enough to understand that, yeah, that would probably do numbers, and that's an original IP that you're not licensing out. I think they look at it and go, it's not producing content for Madden or FC Ultimate Team. It's not an infinite revenue model like Apex. We can't put any pop culture characters into this. Like, there's nothing you can do. And I think that's in the most cynical version of my mind, that's what they see. And they realize they can't do any of that, so why bother?
Mhm.
And that is a damn shame. I really hate that Respawn is. I really would love for Respawn to get away from EA, and they just can't. They're not going to be able to at this point.
Yeah.
Um, man,
I mean, at least Respawn is producing, I guess. Uh,
Respawn is the Respawn is the EA studio that's doing things right. I'll put it that way.
yeah.
And that's
Um,
because, for the most part, until now, basically, EA has largely just stayed out of their way. Like, yeah, their games may not have sold like incredible until Jedi Fallen Order, but
mhm.
EA basically stayed out of their way and let Vince do whatever he wanted to do. I mean, to the point that he's now running DICE.
Mhm.
So, like, oh, they're hoping he's going to come out and save Battlefield, but oh, wait, we're going to close the studio that was headed up by one of the creators of Halo, by the way,
Right.
that was supposed to deliver a single player experience in the Battlefield universe. And if there's anybody I trust to do it, it's probably Marcus Leto's team. But no, we're not going to do that either.
Right.
He announced he was leaving, and then 24 hours later, they announced they were closing the studio. Just like,
Yeah, and he said he had no idea they were going to close the studio if he
yep.
left, which is
I don't know if I don't want to like spread shit. I don't know if I believe that. Just because like we see people, oh, I had no idea, but it's like the timing is just too coincidental.
yeah,
That's kind of how it felt here.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know what to believe. I'm just not going to
Yeah,
say anything because I don't know, to
no,
be honest.
that's about how I feel. Um, God, this is only the first of the layoffs.
I know. Um, let's see. Sony, by the way, also laid off 900 people. Let's see. Let's run down this list this was just the last
Yeah,
week. Gosh.
let's just go through
So
these because I
Sony,
think like Sony's the major one to talk about here.
yeah, Sony lays off 900 people. EA lays off 670 people. Deck 9 lays off 30 people. Supermassive lays off around 90 people. Radical Forge, which is the co-developer of Sea of Thieves, laid off 6 people. They're a small studio, but still. Uh,
Yeah.
and we are 64 days into the year, Josh, and 8,100 plus people have been laid off that have been reported so far.
And last year we had around 10,000 at the end
Mm-hmm.
of the year. So
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't seem like the tide is going to be stemmed anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
But that at this point, it kind of like depends. That like really depends on Embracer at this point, to be
Yeah.
frank.
Yeah.
I wanna back up to two of these. So before we go in, because I think the Sony one is a really big topic to go over.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I
Yeah.
will note that with Deck Nine, the heads of the studio all took pay cuts in an effort to save as many jobs as they could.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do think if we're going to call out the bad, we got to call out some of the good also.
Yeah.
It didn't do a lot. And I mean, like, obviously, that's not a comfort to the people who were actually laid off,
Right.
who understandably have every single right to be upset.
Yeah.
Um, but like some of the senior creatives who are still there were like, hey, this really sucks and this really hurts us. But like, management did make every single effort
I'm
to take pay. They took pay cuts. They trimmed budgets wherever they could to save as many jobs as they could. But
yeah,
the
good
reality
good for
is,
them.
for them, the Expanse underperforming is probably what doomed them. They
Mhm.
laid off a few people last summer, and we kind of had the feeling that this was coming.
Yeah.
Um, I don't did Deck Nine. I don't remember if Deck Nine worked on that or not.
Let's see. Deck Nine. I'm looking it up right now.
I am too.
Deck Nine Games. They did Life is Strange:
Yes,
True Colors was the last game that they
they
did,
they
plus
worked they
The
worked on Expanse.
Expanse.
They worked on the Expanse. I was just trying to figure out if
Yeah.
Telltale had been reformed or just published.
Hmm.
The Expanse radically underperformed.
Hmm.
I heard it was good, but it underperformed. Like, people just, they don't want those types of games right
Yeah.
now, and it's a damn shame because that can doom your studio.
Yeah.
But yeah, May 2023 they laid off 30 employees, and then this month the 30 employees is 20% of its remaining staff, so 50 jobs lost
Hmm.
or 60 jobs lost, excuse me, in the last 9 months at that studio.
Yeah.
That's pretty significant. And I mean, Deck Nine they're a good studio. I mean, a lot of folks consider Before the Storm to be the best Life is Strange game.
Hmm.
I personally really loved True Colors.
Yeah. A lot of people like True Colors
True
also.
Colors also sold pretty well, from what I understood.
Yeah.
And I think part of it's because they abandoned the episodic nature of it.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, didn't they just release all the episodes at once as like one full game? Isn't that what True Colors
it's
did?
just a full game. I mean, like, it's split up into chapters within it, but it's not like the individual segments like the previous ones were, or like Telltale games are. Like, oh, last time on Life is Strange.
Hmm.
It's just like, no, it's like, oh, well, this is the beginning of the next chapter. So like, it's like a normal game. So, um, yeah, when it released, MPD said that it debuted at number 10 on the charts, which is the highest launch month dollar sales for any game in the Life is Strange franchise.
Hmm. Man.
So, and it got a lot of really big it got a lot of big awards. Best storytelling at Golden Joysticks. Won Games for Impact at Game Awards, as well as nominated for Best Narrative and Performer. Like that, it's a good studio, and it's just a huge fucking bummer.
Hmm. Yeah. And then obviously, I think the other one too, Supermassive. Um, I think my theory is like, so I know the Dark Picture anthology didn't like kill for them, right? But
No, and they're on the
also,
hook for like five more of those
I
things.
know, but also Bandai Namco is apparently in, so like they're not in trouble, but I mean, they sold the rights of Elden Ring back to Front Software to like make some money because they haven't made any money, and they are the publishers of the Dark Pictures anthology.
Yeah, the Elden Ring situation is interesting because it's kind of a bit of like a tale of two companies. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
Bandai Namco needed the money, but From also saw like what a phenomenon it is and
Hmm.
wanted to make sure they fully controlled that franchise going forward.
Yeah, I think
Um,
it might be like a situation where Bandai Namco still has like the first right of refusal to publish the first game. Like they published
yeah.
the first game, but anything after
Well,
that
so
was
the
on
other
them.
thing is I think Bandai Namco is also hedging their bets because they still own the IP rights to Dark Souls.
Hmm.
So I think this is also like that. I think this is also um, the oh my god, I'm completely blanking on front the head of Frump's name, but
Miyazaki.
yeah, I think this is him kind of hedging his bets that Elden Ring is what he wants to work on going forward.
Yeah.
In terms of expanding a universe, and like they poured so much lore into that, and like Elden Ring was like it was a revolution in gaming. I mean, there's a reason why it won so many Game of the Year awards. It's not for me, but
Hmm.
I understood within 5 minutes of starting that game why people loved it.
Hmm.
It just wasn't for me. And
Yeah.
listen, if you give me an easy mode, I'll go play that game all day long. But that's beside the point. It's
Hmm.
going
I,
back to Supermassive. This is this is another studio that was bought up during a lot of those studio buying crazes. Nordisk Film is the one that bought them. who's like a film. It's like a filmmaking company, I
Mhm.
think, from Norway.
Mhm.
Um, fourth oldest film studio in the world. It's a Danish film company. They purchased a 31% stake in the studio, and then they fully acquired them in July 2022 after the release of The Quarry. Um, which The Quarry was like surprisingly good to a lot of folks. Which, from what I understand, The Quarry started out as a follow up to Until Dawn, and then when Sony basically was like, "Yeah, we don't want to do that," that's when
Yeah.
2K stepped in to publish it.
Well,
Um,
it was also supposed to be a timed Stadia exclusive.
yes, that was the other one. God, just you look at the Stadia games that they were supposed to have, and it's like this.
Guilt.
Kojima will never admit it, but OD was supposed to be one.
Oh yeah.
High on
Guilt.
Life, Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
And it's
Um
like, damn, if Google had just held on for like another year,
yeah, right?
they would have actually had like a Harmonix had a game that was in development for Stadia that ultimately got canceled.
Yeah.
Like they would have actually had a pretty solid roster of games.
Yeah, but
I don't
that's
know if
the
it would have been
Google.
enough to turn the tide, but
No, but I mean, you look at how those games have scored now, and you'd be like, "Dang."
yeah.
So,
Some other little tidbits on Supermassive. The company co-founders left as of January 2024, and then the next month, 90 employees were informed they were going to be laid off out of 150.
mhm.
That comes from Jason Schreier. Supermassive still has not confirmed how many they laid off. They just confirmed that they will be doing layoffs, not how many actually got laid off. So
Mhm.
not not great. Not great times over there.
Nope.
They're still working on Dark Pictures anthology. I mean, they have 3 games coming out within the next year. They have Little Nightmares 3 coming out this year,
God, I forgot
which
about
kind of
Little
weird that
Nightmares.
they're the ones making that, by the way.
Right.
Bandai Namco's publishing that one. Um, the casting of Frank Stone, which is a game that is set in the Dead by Daylight universe, that comes out this year, and then they are working on the next Dark Pictures game. I
Yep.
really wish I was joking about this, but supposedly in 2022 they filed trademarks for 6 potential future entries. 5 of them featured the Dark Pictures branding,
Mhm.
subtitled Craven Man, Directive 8020, Intercession, Winterfold, and Switchback. So, and 2 of those have come out. Switchback VR and Directive 8020 has been announced. So,
Yeah.
uh, but they stated in November 2022, we're having conversations about what's beyond game number 8.
God,
Yeah.
I don't.
So,
If they
I,
make it
I,
that long, apparently.
that the first one, Markham Madan, was a game that kind of came out of nowhere, and I know surprised some people. Like it was like it's kind of campy, but it was like, oh, hey, this is like a pretty solid like 7 out of 10 game. And apparently they saw that and ran with it. So
Mhm.
they've continued releasing 7 out of 10s.
Yep. Well,
So
I'm shocked that some of that studio survived this long, though. To be honest, with that kind
I
of
mean,
lineup of
I'm
games.
looking at some of the more recent Dark Pictures games, and I mean these things are scoring like 5 out of 10,
Yeah.
frankly.
Mhm.
So I don't understand how it's made it that long, but okay.
Yeah.
Um, you look at their gaming history, and it's like outside of Until Dawn and The Quarry, like there's really nothing here that like tickles my fancy, frankly.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that to like talk shit on a studio that's like clearly struggling right now, but man, kind of feels like when they weren't asked to do another Until Dawn, they got kind of screwed
Yeah.
because their entire gameography before then was working on stuff for Sony,
Mhm.
doing HD ports, doing DLCs, little spin-off games, things like that. And they had a hit with I think Until Dawn is an awesome game. But they come out and announce the state of play. Oh yeah, we're doing a definitive version of this game. By the way, Supermassive is not the one making it. And then not even a week later we get the news about the layoffs
Mhm.
at Supermassive. That did not sit well with me.
No, that's rough. So. Well, Josh, anything else about these layoffs? I mean, it
I want to go in
sucks.
on the Sony ones.
Oh, right.
I want to go in on the
I
Sony
forgot
ones.
we haven't done that yet. Okay, let's
900 layoffs at Sony, including the entire closure of the London studio.
yeah, which Jim Ryan was there 5 days before that and couldn't tell
5
them that they was
days.
closing. like
Yeah, what a piece of shit.
seriously, they threw a party for him. He-
They threw a fucking party from
oh my
him.
gosh, that was
So I they closed the London studio. They announced huge cuts to Firespite, which also is going through like a ton of internal shit right now.
mhm.
Allegations of sexual harassment, crunch culture, abuse, etc. Um, and they also did layoffs at Gorilla, Naughty Dog, and
Insomniac.
Insomniac. That's the one. I can't believe Insomniac's the one I forgot. I keep wanting to say Santa Monica, and it's not Santa Monica. Um,
Insomniac, this is the first time anybody's ever been laid off from that studio.
what does this say to potential developers at Sony Studios? Like you make these world class games, you make these industry standard setting experiences, and it's still not good enough for us. They still didn't make enough money. Like Spider-Man 2 has sold 10 million copies in under 6 months, and they did layoffs at Insomniac.
Mhm,
Not only that, we knew they were going to do this a couple months ago because of the leaked documents.
mhm,
The only reason this didn't happen sooner was because of that leak. They were going to
mhm.
lay him off right after New Year's.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, what the fuck? That was 8 weeks after the game came out.
Mhm,
I don't understand that. I don't, and I'm not a businessman. I don't understand them. I don't understand Xbox doing this. Why are you laying off the people that are making your biggest games? It just says that nothing is good enough for us. You are a number. You are the bottom. That is the bottom line. Also, just hashtag corporations are not your friends.
mhm.
Um, this is insane. I don't understand how this keeps happening.
Yeah. It's um it's not a good look for anyone. Uh it's not a good look. It's not a good confidence booster, you know? I mean, like, and also like ultimately, if you're thinking about losing your job, your production is going to suffer, right? Your personal production, and then
Yep.
if you have a studio that's big enough and you're worried about losing your job, those games are going to be worse because your production is off, right? Like it's going to trickle down at some point eventually. And I'm not saying like it's going to happen overnight, but like, the next game from Naughty Dog, whatever it is, could be, instead of a 10, it could be like an 8, which whatever, still fine. But you know what I mean? Like this is gonna trickle down. And it's it's rough, man. And also like we know Sony's not done because obviously Bungie's situation is gonna I feel like we're gonna be talking about that in 3 months when Final Shape comes out. Um So I don't know, man. This is rough.
It's not good. It's really bad.
Yeah,
This is really bad. Let's be
hmm
honest.
yeah,
I don't. There is no way to sugarcoat this. This is bad. Um,
yeah.
Also, all three of those studios, or every studio that we know of that had layoffs, either was deeply involved in creating VR experiences or was working on games as a service.
Naughty Dog specifically was that Last of Us game that got canceled or shelved or whatever.
Which I still think it's really dumb to lay those people off because, like, you're really going to tell me you can't use the people who are working on that to help you get Last of Us Part 3 out the door quicker? You're really going to tell me that? Like, they already understand the combat clearly. You're going to really tell me that? Or, like, I don't know, reappropriate the people who are working on the online system specifically? Like, hey, you have a major project at Bungie that needs to get out the door that you just laid people off from, by the way. Maybe send them up there to help with the back end question mark?
Yeah,
Again, I don't know anything, but like this is just as an outside observer, these are things that I'm thinking about. Like I have no idea what you're doing with Gorilla and London Studio and all that. What the other thing that this really reinforces for me is that Sony is becoming even more Americanized than they already were.
hmm
Because now you have the closure of London Studio, Japan Studio is already closed. Firespite is clearly spiraling. Like Polyphony and Gorilla are about your only non-US studios still.
Media Molecule too, which is a
Media.
shocking.
So from what I understand, basically the decision came down to Media Molecule or London studio to be closed, and
And
I truly cannot believe Media Molecule survived.
it's because they're a BAFTA award-winning studio, and the
I
studio
just
head is a BAFTA award-winning studio head, and
I just
that's
I like, you want to talk about a studio that doesn't make you fucking any money? It's
they haven't made
it's them.
anything relevant since Little Big Planet 2.
I mean, Dream, because I don't feel like this is too extreme to say. Dreams was a flop.
Dreams of a flop, Tearaway was a flop. They didn't make Little Big Planet 3. Um,
Yeah, they didn't make that or Sackboy's Adventure, did they?
nope, Sumo Digital did both of those.
God, fucking Sumo Digital. There's a name I haven't thought about in a long time since the Crackdown 3 debacle.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm shocked that Media Molecule is the one that survived out of all three of out of the studios that took the biggest hits. I really can't believe that Media Molecule came out in one piece. Like, their next game basically has to be a hit, or they are 100% next on the chopping block.
Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of that studio left on their own accord anyway.
Yeah,
Like the two of the three founders left, and they took a lot of the animation team with them to go work on a game instead of tools for a game that wasn't
instead
happening.
of working on Dreams.
Yeah. Dreams
I
Die
think
Hard.
I want to say the concept behind Dreams is amazing.
Should have been on PC.
If that game would have come to PC, I think that you'd be looking at a totally different scenario right now.
Mm-hmm. Should have been on PS Plus for PS4 and PS5 and out of the gate, and it should have been on PC.
I will note that we're sitting here talking all this shit about Media Molecule. They did lay off 20 employees last October.
Mm, yeah.
Which is not super duper shocking. The technical director of the studio left back in 2020 to join NVIDIA as a researcher for them.
Mm. Well, he's probably making a ton of money now because they're
God,
yeah.
dude. Yeah. I just, I mean, yeah. I I don't know what, since Little Big Planet karting, they really haven't done much.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tearaway and Dreams, which, I mean, hey, kudos to you. Dreams is a thing, but
It happened.
it happened. I just don't. It came out at a really bad time, also. Um,
Sure, but it was a
man,
great idea that's not for the console audience, especially the PlayStation
yeah.
audience, expecting a single player experience, right? I
You,
mean,
you know what it reminded me of? Obviously, it wasn't this bad, but it reminded me of how Xbox tried to hype up Project Spark.
ooh, yeah, that's a thing I didn't think of for a while.
God, I try to forget that it
We got a
existed.
Conquer prequel out of that.
How disappointing. Um, I find it really interesting because Media Molecule has a great philosophy. They want to have as few employees as possible,
Hmm.
and before the layoffs happened, they had about 130 employees. So now they're down. They're now down probably to under 100. I just, God, I cannot believe that's the. I just can't believe, like, again, like, I understand, like, you bring up a great reason. They're a BAFTA award winning studio, like that. The only awards they've ever won are BAFTA, but like, I get it. You want to keep them intact when that happens, but man, just talk about a studio that has, like, you want to talk about how things don't make you money, and then you're going to go lay off from Insomniac and Gorilla and Naughty Dog, but not a studio that literally hasn't made you a dime in like 8 years. That, like, actively costs you money.
Yeah, it's rough, man. It's yeah, I don't know. I feel like more and more recently that PlayStation's internal studios seem directionless in a way. Not
Yep.
completely directionless, but like, you know, it seems like the studios want to do one thing, and Jim Ryan had a different plans, and now Jim Ryan's out, but they've already shifted into those plans, and now they're trying to course correct on the fly, and this affected a lot of teams, a lot of games, and a lot of studios. Is my takeaway from this. So, in the way that Herman Holst was talking, right? I mean, he kind of contradicts himself within his little speech there, but also like he wants to bring single player premium games, obviously, because that's what PlayStation is known for, which is fine. And then, have these other games supplement those games, which is probably the plan moving forward, I would assume. Um, the other thing to remember too is like Insomniac, even though Spider-Man sold 10 million copies, like their profit margin was only like $300 million because of the licensing fees and to Marvel, which is ridiculous. Um, $100 million.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
Uh,
it's not just the light, and I know you know this. It's not just the licensing
oh,
cost.
I know.
It is a baffling amount of money that like each of these AAA games is costing now, and it makes me really happy in a way for Xbox, like that they they have struggled so hard to get into this AAA single player hit cycle for so long. They dragged their feet successfully for long enough that it's not going to matter. They're going to be the one company putting out these kinds of games for the next couple of years because they're the only ones who can.
Right. Yeah.
I find it very funny that they have like 3 or 4 years of these games lined up when like everybody else is like struggling to figure out how to make money, and like Microsoft's like, we listen, sunk cost fallacy, y'all are getting this shit whether you all want it or not.
Right.
Like, if regardless if it sells, you're getting it.
Yeah. Subscribe to Game Pass.
Yeah, subscribe to Xbox Game Pass. Also, hey, we'll throw you guys a bone if you guys want these on PlayStation. After 18 months, we'll toss them.
Yeah. Man. I mean, it's funny, but it's also not funny. But it's also funny. Um, so I don't know, Josh. Do you have anything else you want to say about these layoffs? I'm really tired of
Uh,
talking about layoffs, to be honest
I'm
with
really
you.
tired of talking about layoffs, and I really don't think we would have spent as much time on them tonight if it wasn't Sony and EA.
Yeah. No, I agree.
But man, I hope this is it for quite a while.
Hmm. Yeah. All right, Josh. We have one quick hit story here I found was pretty interesting. I don't know if you watched the Digital Foundry video of the cloud streaming contest that they were doing, but
I did not, but I heard enough people complain about it.
it seems that Xbox Cloud Streaming has shifted to Series S platforms and not Series X anymore.
Okay, so I don't know if I buy this. Like, I need Microsoft to come out and have a clarification on this
Yeah,
because S and X use largely the same hardware. The problem with the hardware always was the chips.
yeah,
It was always the chipset, and we know for a fact they were using the Series X chips.
hmm,
Like, we actively know that
yeah,
that is why we did not have Series X consoles in the
hmm,
first year. That's part of why they were so scarce,
yeah,
is because they were using those chips to do it. I just can't imagine you ripped all that out to put Series S in there instead. That makes no sense to me.
yeah. I don't know if
I
I
don't know,
buy
and I'm
that.
not. Digital Foundry is like the best in the business at this kind of stuff, so like I don't want to be like poo pooing on their parade, but I would love to hear some clarification from like Jason Ronald on this.
Hmm.
Just like, I mean, it doesn't affect me whatsoever.
No.
I think it still works okay. You're clearly still a ways off. Um, I have not. I'll put it this way: I have not heard a single goddamn person talk about PlayStation streaming. I've seen them talk about the Portal, but that's a remote play device,
Yeah. I mean, I don't.
and PlayStation's always done remote play good.
Yeah. Also, like, I don't know if premium is even like worth subscribing to at this point. What do you get? You get the PlayStation 1 and 2 games, I guess, PlayStation 3 streaming games, and then you get demos and streaming, cloud streaming. That's what you
I
get
still
from
think it's
this.
so. You get the PlayStation Classics catalog too, but I still think it's so funny that they effectively locked demos behind the most expensive one. Like, if you're paying for that, you probably don't need the demo of Horizon Forbidden West. Like, you probably own these games. Let's be totally honest.
Right. Right.
It's very silly. It's very silly to me.
Yeah.
And that's $18 a month too.
Yeah. Gross.
I cannot wait to cancel my PlayStation Plus. It renewed on accident this past year, and yeah, I'll probably take it down to like the base version.
Yeah, I'm on Essential right now. So, and since they gave away Final Fantasy Remake and Integrate for PlayStation Plus a while ago, I don't need to have it to play it. So neat. Um, but yeah, I don't really care about this. I think it's weird. I
I think
want
this is a weird nothing
clarification.
for right now. I think this is a weird nothing burger.
Yeah.
Until like more people can use cloud streaming, like and that maybe that was Microsoft's thing, like, oh well, why should we expend all this effort and all this processing if like people aren't using it? Most folks are using it. We know most folks are using it to try a game out or to start a down like log on to start downloads and stuff.
Hmm.
That does not surprise me.
Hmm. My new TV has an Xbox
Just
app that you can log into and stream.
the infrastructure simply isn't there yet.
Hmm.
And this is another classic example of Microsoft is too early to the party. Thankfully, this time not to their detriment.
Yeah.
Um, and they didn't run out screaming cloud, cloud, cloud like TV, TV, TV.
Jeez.
Which I
Oh.
still think that whole thing's overblown, but that's another topic for another day. Um, I'm interested to see because I mean, obviously, cloud is going to become much more important as we head towards the next generation. This generation's probably still got 3 solid years left.
Hmm.
The absolute earliest you'll see a new console will be fall 26. With the news of the PS5 Pro possibly coming this year, I think Xbox is just going to bite the bullet and be like, nope, we don't have the most powerful console in the world anymore. But we're going to pump our next console out in fall 26.
Hmm.
There had been rumors it was being moved up from 27. I do think that that's accurate at this point. Um, so I'm interested to see because I think it's got to have a pretty strong emphasis. It's going to have a pretty strong emphasis on cloud. And I think also they're kind of pivoting and going, okay, well, you want to do that? Cool. We're gonna work on having a handheld uh, Xbox component. Like maybe instead of the Series S, maybe that's what the companion console is this next time.
Which would be great. I'm
It'd be
into it.
incredible, and I shudder to think of how much it's going to cost. So
I would
probably in line with
imagine
the
Steam
probably in
Deck,
line with the I would say at least I was going to say probably more in line with how much the premium version of the ROG costs with the extreme processor.
yeah,
I would say probably around 600.
yeah. Well, I think the high end Steam Deck is 649, so
Yeah.
probably somewhere in that range. Which gross, but I want it. So, well, Josh, we do have a question in the Discord.
We do have a question in the Discord.
This comes from our pal Jiggly Panda. Uh, Jiggly Panda asks Xbox Casuals question. What are y'all's thoughts on something? Do you think a Black Ops 2 remaster is coming next year? Do you even see one happening at all?
No and no.
No. I think the most you'll see is I think the Bat Compat team will come up and maybe try to do their FPS boost or resolution boost type
Yeah.
things, but I think that's all you're going to get.
So you're probably going to get that. These games already are backwards compatible. We
Mhm.
should note that. It actually caused a spike in sales of Series X's last summer.
Mhm.
Um, there is a rumor going around currently that the Black Ops 2 maps are they're either going to be in this upcoming Call of Duty that's coming out this fall or they will be in 2025's. But the
Mhm.
Black Ops 2 maps have been remade for multiplayer.
Mhm.
Um
I think it would make
that's
sense for this year because it is a Black Ops game.
So funny story, 2025 is rumored to be a Black Ops game as well.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Well.
Because Treyarch has had 4 years to make this one. Supposedly, they've already been told to get to work on 2025s, and that was a Bobby Kotick decree. So I don't
Of
know if that's
course.
still going to happen or not. Supposedly, he tried to make Sledgehammer do it, and they absolutely revolted. So, yeah, imagine doing that to them a fourth time.
Gosh. I mean, you would have to think they wouldn't. I mean, Microsoft wouldn't do that considering the Modern Warfare 3 fiasco, right? I mean, you
They're
would
they're.
have
I
to
mean,
think.
I do think that they're still going to do it. It's just more that Treyarch is going to like oversee the development, and like a lot of the support studios are going to work on it together.
Not
But
Toys for
apparently
Bob.
that one's already pretty far in development from what I've heard. So
Yeah.
I'm curious. I suspect you'll get more information this summer,
Hmm.
but I would hope that Microsoft decides to put a year between them. We do know they are. It does seem like the 4-year development cycle is being shifted to.
Yeah.
It does seem like that's becoming a thing because Infinity Wards, it was thrown around like, oh, maybe Infinity Ward could step in and do 2025, and no, they are already working on 2026.
Hmm.
So to give them a 4-year cycle.
This
So
would seem like
no and
a,
no.
yeah, I mean, this would seem like a game, every other year thing, and then maybe like some sort of expansion or something the following year.
That's kind of what I hope they get to, and I hope that it ultimately ends with Sledgehammer not having to work on Call of Duty anymore.
Hmm.
Frankly, especially considering they pitched Advanced Warfare 2 and were told no.
Yeah.
So like, why not let them make something they want to make? And I
Right.
know a lot of people who think that like the period between that and between Black Ops 2 and or Modern Warfare 2, I guess I should say, and Advanced Warfare was like kind of like the golden years of Call of Duty, especially in the competitive scene.
Hmm.
Um, I know a lot of people want to go back to that, so you got to wonder if they'll be allowed to revisit it or not.
Yeah.
Especially like you said, like how much of a dud Modern Warfare 3 ended up being.
Yeah.
Like what on earth is Infinity Ward doing? And they got to be done with Black Ops after this too. I think that whole storyline's run its course
Twice.
twice.
uh, Fun fact, Josh. Black Ops 2, I think, was the last Call of Duty that I actually played all the way through, and I played it on the Wii U.
God, disgusting.
Let me tell you, Josh, it was not the best experience. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, can't imagine why.
Rip Wii U. I have it hooked up on this TV over here, in case you are wondering or cared.
I'm not, but thank you.
Oh man. All right, Josh. Let's talk about what's coming to Game Pass this week. The big drop though is that Diablo is coming at the end of the month, which is
Yeah, Diablo's at the end. We'll have more details on Game Pass, but it
Gesundheit.
we have this really poorly timed because the Game Pass drop happens tomorrow morning. By the
Yeah,
time you're listening to this, Game Pass drops are going to be announced.
yeah. Maybe this is something we should, I don't know, either skip or just address the games that have come to Game Pass at some point.
Yeah, yeah.
This is a segment that needs work, but basically March 5th, which is the day you're hearing this, Warhammer 40,000 Bolt Gun is coming, which is like their
Oh
weird
boy.
Doom like that's not great. It looked promising when the trailers came out, but I heard it was not very good. I don't know, I haven't played it, but I did hear it was not very good. Um Also, like in the last couple weeks since we recorded, Josh, Bluey the video game came to Game Pass. Maneater, Madden NFL 24, Indivisible, Space Engineers have all come to Game Pass. Also, a reminder if you are looking forward to Dune Part 2 or have seen it or want to see it, the Microsoft Flight Simulator Dune expansion is also available now.
Yes.
And then leaving on February 29th, so these are already gone, Madden NFL 22 and Soul Hackers 2.
Oh, Soul Hackers too.
Mhm.
Just I don't think there's a place for. I mean, there's a very small niche for like Soul Hackers these days, but it's very clear that Atlas understands that what's going to make them money are their Persona style games and not more Shin Megami Tensei style
Yeah,
experiences, which is what Soul Hackers ultimately is.
yeah,
Recently was on sale for $3.99 at GameStop.
yeah.
So Also a reminder, not specifically pertaining to Game Pass, Xbox is doing a partner preview
They
on
are.
March 6th. They announced it this morning. Some of the games that will be on there are Nutsugami, Path of the Goddess, Tales of Kenzara Zao, and then the first Berserker Kazan, and more. It's going to be a 30-minute presentation, and this is going to air at 10 a.m. Pacific, noon Central on March the 6th. I'm actually really stoked for this because I like that they are like clearly focusing on undercovered games.
Yeah.
This time around, I mean, the big headliner of the last one they did was Infinite Wealth.
Yeah.
And I think we all agreed like it was fine. It just like that format needed a little bit of work.
Hmm.
So I like this. This to me, this is like their equivalent of a state of play. I like that they're not announcing it like a week and a half in advance like the last one either. Like, hey, we're announcing this 2 days out. It's kind of low key, but I've seen a lot of people already be like, hey, I'm interested in all three of those games. I want to tune into this.
Yeah. That.
Um,
What was it? The Zao. What was the full
I'm
name?
very excited for that
Yeah.
one.
That basically looks like Prince of Persia, the new Prince of Persia game, which was awesome.
Publishers including Capcom, Nexon, EA, and others with more than a dozen new trailers over the course of a
Ooh.
30-minute broadcast.
Dragon's Dogma is probably dropping in there at some point, right? Street Fighter 6 and Dragon's Dogma. So from Capcom.
I don't think Dragon's Dogma will. I'm pretty sure Sony owns the marketing on that one.
Do they?
Every time it's been seen, it's been at a Sony presentation.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess that's fair.
So, but I think that I want to say that Path of the Goddess, I want to say, is a Capcom game.
Right. I forgot that one that we all thought was Onimusha at one point.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that. Yeah, that's the Capcom game.
Yeah.
So that does not surprise me that that's going to be there.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Um, So, and I do like that they emphasize here our partner preview format is all about sharing exciting games news from our talented studios across the globe with no frills, just new game reveals, release date announcements, and fresh gameplay from upcoming games and unique behind the scenes stories from developers on the Xbox Wire. This seems to just be indicating that, like, hey, by the way, there are not going to be any first party games. They don't explicitly say it here, but I'd be really shocked if there were.
Yeah.
I just don't think that there will be.
I mean, the
But
most I could
this is cool.
see.
I like this approach.
Yeah. I mean, the most I could see would maybe be like a second party game. I don't know. But
Yeah, it would have to be them like publishing something.
Contraband, where's that at?
God, I honestly kind of keep forgetting that Contraband exists.
I wonder if Xbox is hoping everybody else kind of forgets Contraband exists
I
too.
think Xbox would like to forget that it exists
Yeah.
because that game was supposed to be out like 2 years ago.
Yeah. Well, now
I
now
just
now you have all these great games coming out, and it's going to get lost.
God, dude. I mean, I think it was going to get lost anyways, but
Yeah, but now definitely. Mm.
yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see if we get anything else announced. I don't think you're going to get anything from Microsoft
Mm-mm.
here, and I mean, with good with good reason. They do say like there will be announcements for Xbox, PC, and Game Pass here, so I'm interested to see maybe that Capcom game becomes the day one Game Pass game.
Yeah,
Worth noting, they did put Exoprimal on Game Pass day one last year, so
yeah, yeah. I wonder if one of those Monster Hunter Stories games maybe because it was announced at the Nintendo Direct, but they didn't
I
announce
found
any
it very
subsequent
funny that
thing.
all the stuff afterwards was like emphasizing that it's coming to Nintendo and PlayStation, and
Yeah,
like no mention of Xbox.
I know. Bothers me. Oh well. Anything else, Josh? Before we get out of here.
No, I think that's it.
Great. Well, everybody, I want to thank you for watching or listening to this episode of Xbox Casuals. You can find us every Monday on your podcast service of choice and on YouTube. But you can check out our sister show, Tower Casuals, every Thursday or every Friday. Sorry, every Friday. And subscribe, share, rate, review. Josh, thank you for your time tonight. As always, where can we find you?
Twitter at Josh_Finn. I'm still here.
Still here. Two N's. Uh, you can find me at I am Corn HD. You can follow us at Tower Casuals. Thank you so much for watching and or listening. And until next time, we love you. Goodbye.